Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, welcome. If you would allow me a moment, please, to read our land acknowledgement. We ask for a moment to acknowledge the traditional lands of those who came before and celebrate those who are here today in what is known in the present day as the Greater Pittsburgh region. The Erie, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy made up of the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Seneca, Tuscarora, and Cayuga. Kaskaskia, Lenape, Massawomack, Mississauga, Osage, Shawanwaki, Shawnee, Susquehannock, Wyandot, Yuchi, and the pre-European contact cultures of the Adena, Hopewell, and Monongahela. I thank you. For those of you playing along at home, my name is Sharon McCune. I can't even pronounce my own name. It's Friday, everybody, and it's technology. I am the associate producer and the curator of the Expand the Canon series at PICT Classic Theater. Welcome to the first Expand the Canon series webinar of 2022. Of those of you who are in Pittsburgh, I hope that you have gotten off your street from the amount of snow that was dumped on us a few days ago. It took me 2 days to get off my street, but I love this kind of weather because I'm a Midwesterner. My esteemed colleague, Catherine Kolos, our General Operations Manager, wanted me to reintroduce and possibly introduce some of you new participants to listeners of our webinar series, part of PICT Educates, as what the Expand the Canon series is. Expand the Canon series was a bit of a conversation, not even a bit, a conversation between Catherine and Alan, our artistic and executive director, dating back a couple of years, on how best to expand our repertoire on a limited budget and bring new stories and new perspectives to not only PICT audiences, but audiences of Pittsburgh. And what Catherine discovered was this marvelous list and other lists that popped up on other sites with other companies, but Hedgepig Theater Ensemble, again, Friday, it's my new Monday, Hedgepig Ensemble Theater in Brooklyn, New York. Their vision was to start primarily with women and women of color, playwrights in the classical category. So I believe that they don't look at anything but before 1970. And taking that idea and running with it, I was tasked with not only finding women, people of color, and LGBTQIA plus perspectives, but changing our perspective, what PICT is doing, as classic stories. So if it happened to be written after 1970, if it was written last week, that does not mean it's taken out of contention. Because the idea is simply to advocate for those stories that have been kept silent for any number of reasons, but mostly marginalized communities. And that's why we're starting with women, people of color, and LGBTQIA plus. But it's also trying to stay within our framework at PICT to hire as many local actors as we can, many local directors as we can. And yes, on a limited budget, doing a staged reading, bringing all these stories to a new audience. And yeah, cheating in the way that we might then find ourselves some new works to do as a full production. And there's nothing wrong with that. Good story is a good story is a good story. As Alan has redefined the idea of a classic story, it is a story for our time and for all time. So with that in mind, we started our Expand the Canon series, which is a series of 6 staged readings. This is our first to be presented online because of that persnickety little thing called a pandemic. So we'll be discussing that as well. The first 2 readings, the first was called An Improbable Fiction by Mr. James DeVita. The second was called Cottagers and Indians by a Canadian Ojibwe playwright named Drew Hayden Taylor. Our third play, I am happy to say, is called After Independence by May Sumbwanyambe. And as much as I would love to say that, according to our beginning poster, that our dialect and cultural curator, Mukwae Siyolwe, would be joining us. Because technology is technology, it does not like international borders sometimes. And as beautiful as this international collaboration is, because our playwright is Scottish, and Mukwae is currently working in Mexico. Don't like across the pond, don't like across too far south. So I will be joined today by our director, Miss Linda Haston. So if you would give me a moment, I will introduce her. Linda is our director. She has directed and or performed for the past 22 years with local Pittsburgh professional theater companies. Some favorite performances include Jeanette in City Theater's 2005-2006 season opener of Crowns, Tituba in Quantum Theater and Prime Stage Theater's production of The Crucible, and Mrs. Dixon in Lynn Nottage's Intimate Apparel at City, and Henry from the club on the national tour in Pittsburgh. Sorry, some of this it's chopped up, so forgive me if I'm getting titles wrong. Forgive me, Linda. 2009 is Addie and the Little Foxes. 2013 is A Citizen in Our Town at Pittsburgh Public. She has directed and or performed from 2008 to 2018 at Off the Wall, How I Learned to Drive, Four Dogs and a Bone, and The Club, for which she also choreographed and performed. I'm going to skip to the end a little bit, Linda, because I just want to talk to you about this marvelous play some more. Not that I'm trying to make you sound any less fantastic than you actually are. She made her directing debut at Arcade Comedy Theater not but a couple of months ago with The Thanksgiving Play by Larissa Fasthorse. And After Independence is her directing debut with PICT. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Linda Haston.
Hello, everyone.
Hey,
Glad
you.
to be with
you. How are you? Not that I don't like, I mean, I love being a good.
No, I wanted to skip to the end. I really don't like displaying my credits, but sometimes you have to.
And you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, no, I'm good with that.
So bear with me. We have worked together.
Yes.
Once, I think only once, right? As actors. And
as actors together, yes. Oedipus.
Or PICT and Oedipus Rex.
Yes.
So you, I know, have a fantastic history, and I would love people to know you were not always an actor, Linda. What did you do?
I worked as a legal aid and legal assistant and paralegal for attorneys, which is why, for many years.
Which is crazy. So why did you?
That was how I supported my habit of being in the arts.
Supported my habit. I love it. So what? Because I think we had met not long after you decided to like the law career. What was the straw that broke the camel's back? What made you finally make that leap?
Well, I had moved from Pittsburgh and I lived in New York for 10 years to cut to the chase. And having had to work mostly in New York with a little bit of acting chops, I had to keep everything still well. I came back to Pittsburgh to reestablish myself.
Mm-hmm.
And in 93 is when I moved back to Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. I left in 1980. So when I came back in 93, I needed to reestablish myself in the theater community. So in 2008, however, is when I broke my day job. I had met lots of people from the theater community. I was in the union at that point still. And so I decided, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. I'm not happy having worked in the law field, although it trained me for, my personal life and everything. But my love and my habit, as I say, is the arts. Directing, performing, choreographing,
right.
That whole thing. So that's in 2008 is when I broke ties with my day job. and I was welcomed wholeheartedly into the theatrical community because I didn't just throw out my resume and say, hey, I've done this and this and this. I actually delved into proving what I could do with various theater companies, which is why I am in this position now. I am well known in the theater community.
What do you prefer, acting or directing?
I prefer them both. One gives me an insight into what the director is looking for when I'm performing. And as a director, I know what an actor needs, what their needs are, to get them quicker to embodying a character. So I don't have one favorite. I like them both equally.
Do you think that has changed for you, or has
no.
I'm not trying to say that, right?
No.
Like you're falling out of love with one or the other. I was saying, do you think it's not? Do you? I have to rephrase the question. How do you think that's changed as you've gotten older?
Well, it changes because as an actor, I cannot play my age always, and that's always been since I was younger. I'll go and audition for things that are in my age range, and people don't believe I'm that age.
Right.
So, which is, older now. When I was younger, I couldn't play younger roles because I looked too young. So I'm at that point where I'm in between, unless people are interested in giving me a wig or aging me facially. I don't have an opportunity to do a lot of acting. So therefore, because I also am trained as a director, I offer my services, and people have been calling me. And there's also restraints because of I'm a woman and I'm of color.
You just fed right into my next question because there's a difference, because I've had we are on like parallel paths as far as not looking your age or looking too young or too old according to what people think you are. Do you think that, again, it's hard to phrase this question, but do you think that it has been, again, over the course of your career, because you are a woman, because you are a Black woman, has it been easier, or take your pick, figure out how, as an actor, as a Black woman, or as a director, as a Black woman? Which one has been easier? Which one has been easy? I mean, that's it. It's a loaded question.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But there's also a whole new generation, right? So because not trying to give anything away, but because you are older than I am, you paved things that I didn't have to go through, and I'm paving things, right, that generations after. So
exactly.
So I guess what I'm trying to get at is, what do you see now that is different that maybe you wish you had X number of years ago?
What I see now are companies really embracing diversity and not just saying it at auditions. Yeah, we want everybody, all ethnicities to come, all ages, what have you, to come. They really mean it.
Right.
I have many years under my belt of auditioning and people saying no, or looking at my resume saying, oh, you memorized all of that? And that's all they had to say to me. Nothing about what I had to bring to the table, not the talent, not anything. And I found it more on the acting side. Or to be told, we're going a different way. Oh, you're using something other than a human being. Okay, you're going a different way.
That is my least favorite, because what does that mean? I mean, really.
Exactly. But as a director, I had to prove myself that I could do the work, and any work put before me. And I am, my favorite is new works,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a challenge more for things that are already known.
Mm-hmm.
When I put a new work on display with my name on it, it's done to the nines.
Mm-hmm.
And I make sure of that. So my reputation as able to do new works and not just regurgitate those classics or things that people already know coming to the table is has preceded me as a director. So I am more this, as a matter of fact, this year I've been asked to direct more frequently than just at the one theater company that I was working with.
Now,
People
do you think
calling
that
me.
also, do you think that also is part of where the world is changing?
Yeah, I think it's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the pieces that have been put before me and I've been asked to direct, yeah, that's the major part of it, that
Mm-hmm.
I am a Black woman directing a certain play.
Right.
But not all of it, because these plays that have been put before me are plays that haven't been done,
Right.
especially in the Pittsburgh area.
Right.
And because my reputation, I'm not relying on the fact that I'm female and that I'm a Black person. I'm relying on the fact that you've seen my work, you know what I can do with things.
Mm-hmm.
And so that to me is even more gratifying than the fact that I am a minority and a female.
Mm-hmm.
It's the work that I pride over that. That comes
Right.
second. But
Right.
it's the work that I put on. I mean, I have a reputation of, when my name gets put before people, they go, oh, yeah, you need to get her because she's good. She knows her stuff, so I'm not just relying on the fact
Right.
that I'm of color and a female.
Right. So this is, thanks for the segue. I love segues when they work well. So this play, May's play,
Yes.
made its debut in London in 2016. I know that he was writing from a point of, he was trying to make it more personal. So as a member of the country of Scotland, he wrote this parallel to the vote that was going to happen in Scotland for independence, and he found it interesting that, and so right, and there's so many themes about this play, partially why I chose it, that it could be anywhere on the planet. I had a
That's correct.
one of my side jobs is English as a second language, and I had a Palestinian student who was talking about, do you know what it's like to have somebody knock on your door and suddenly tell you that's not your house anymore? They were just going to give it away. So I think that just on a basic level of shelter, right, which is what food, shelter, water, what every human being needs to survive, starts to raise some seriously marvelous questions in this play. So that was one of the things that spoke to me about this play. When I asked you if you would direct it, you just said, yep, without actually reading the play. So
had no idea.
Right. So what grabbed you? When I after you said yes, and I went, woo, and I sent you the script, what did you think after your first read?
Well, what grabbed me was the fact that it is so current in our situation in America. Even though this story is set in 1998, it is fictional, but the story itself is true.
Right.
It is very close to, it describes in actuality exactly what was going on at that time with power, takeover, minority rule, majority rule.
Right.
This is what's happening in our country right now. And I direct it as such. We go back and forth with what's happening in our country. I mean, we may not know all the history of where this play is set, but it's very parallel to what's going on in our country, and the fact that it is so current,
right,
it's ridiculous.
Right, and it's even to like one of the things that grabbed me was that yes, even because it's in 1998, and we are not, as we're all finding out, right? There are how we've been taught history is very selective, and not just about this particular country, but about pick a continent, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Right, it has a certain perspective. But I find it fascinating that, right, if we go back to, again, the Spanish, Portugal, somebody from the old world coming in, discovering a country that's already here, right? And then simply because of the color of skin or because of a language, we as human beings are demoted to less than, and then simply said, you know what? You're not wearing clothes. You have the wrong cut, right? You have the wrong haircut. You're wearing the wrong stuff. You're eating the wrong food. Whatever it is, go down a list. It's not as good as us, so you need to go.
Right.
So that is the history of the what now is the United States of America, right? So, but fundamentally, what is it? And we found this out in a hurry 4 years ago. What is it to be an American?
Right.
There is no easy answer to that.
No.
Right. Which is why May was writing. He's like, you're telling me the government, the Scottish government, or the government of Great Britain, or the government of Zimbabwe, or again, pick a country. The government has no right to tell me whether or not I am actually a member of that country. Why does the government get the right to say that? Why does somebody else get to decide for me? Right?
Yes. And as Mukwae had told us when we had our dramaturgical session with the cast, she told us a little bit about the history. The difference is all these Europeans came over to Africa. There were no maps. There was no deeds. There was no property. That's the difference. The only difference with the takeover of these hamlets in Africa, people just went and said, "This is mine."
Right.
and my great great grandfather was here before you, and that's all we got. We have no paper. There's no paper. People just took over.
Well,
and that's the only difference between their country and ours. Everything else is the same about people jockeying for power.
Well, but even as the United States spread, right?
Yes.
We have the 13 original colonies. We're going to keep expanding. Oh, you know what? You don't need this land. Go away. Right?
Right. Get out.
Right. Redistricting the savages to the worst possible plots of land ever.
Absolutely.
Right? Which wasn't mapped. Right? I mean, okay. And their names oh my gosh, there goes my American history right out the window. Right. Sacagawea, right? They hired an Indian guide to get them to the ocean, for crying out loud. Hello, right? So what I was gonna ask you was in the research that Mukwae put together, what what did you look? There's a reason I snagged her as the dialect and cultural
Oh
curator.
yes.
Tell you, woo! Does she have a background? Why? What has been the most helpful for you, do you think, and the cast? Talking specifically about something, right? So this play has to do with, because it's inspired by real events. It's not,
that's correct.
The characters, right, are probably all based on somebody that May knows or grew up with, right? But it has to do with land ownership and dispossession and, right, justice and post-colonial, not just Zimbabwe, but, right, it could be repercussions post-colonial.
Anywhere there.
It could be anywhere on the planet. So what about the history of Zimbabwe particularly, that Mukwae put together, have you found the most helpful? Because this is stuff we didn't get this in school. Anything close to this.
Well, I think it was when she delved into how it began.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she gave us a quick lesson on how this all started.
Mm-hmm.
Before the Europeans were the one, and sometimes the Americans came over. Everybody wanted a piece of Africa. I had no idea how rich Africa was in everything.
Mm-hmm.
This is why the Europeans, they had depleted what was going on at the time, right. What was going on in their country. But Africa was rich in everything, and it still is,
mm-hmm.
which is why it is such a controversial place to take over. I mean, everybody in Europe came over, all kinds of nationalities. Mm-hmm. And when I was totally surprised when she said, oh yeah, United States is in this too. And it's that history from the beginning of when this all started to the present that intrigued me. Mm-hmm. And she brought in various names of people of color who were in charge. And then the white Europeans, it would go back and forth, both wanting to do power. Who was more violent than the other? Mm-hmm. Those that weren't. And it's that rich history of how these main people came to power and how it affected the people that lived there. Mm-hmm. That I found very fascinating. I had no idea about this. I mean, Africa was as foreign to me as, my couch.
I think the all I remember really from right growing up was the most connected thing that I think I learned about Africa was we took people from there.
Knew that.
Right? You know about Egypt, which I think people forget is part of the continent, right? Because I think somehow people, I know I did not make it clear in my own head that Egypt is actually part of the continent of Africa, but that's where all the cool stuff is, right? And then you have the cool safari stuff in the middle, and then you have South Africa, which is a huge problem at the bottom. Yeah. Because of apartheid. That's about all I knew, because that's about what was taught. If you give me a moment, Linda, I'm going to read the strategical statement that Mukwae had put together. So she said, May Sumbwanyambe's play After Independence explores restitution, repatriations, and land in Zimbabwe. Forgive me, I am not going to try to say it in its native tongue because I will get it wrong. But it is a Silozi proverb from Baratsi land. If you want to know the end, look at the beginning. After Independence is a play about restitution and reparations of land, giving us an opportunity to have more informed conversations about land and its connection to self-determination, heritage, and identity. Set in post-independent Zimbabwe during the farm repossessions or land invasions, depending on what narrative you choose to follow, Black or white. This play explores the gray zone of white identity in post-independent Zimbabwe. The violent acts of occupation that Cecil Rhodes financed through his British South Africa Company, the BSAC, in the 1880s, of bogus mining concessions, fake protectorates, punitive wars, was ultimately manifested in the military occupation and renaming of what were once several indigenous nation states and empires using his own name, Rhodes. This social engineering dream of an Africa filled with white settlers from Cape to Cairo will continue to have consequences for colonizer and colonized, whether occupied by force or legitimate sale. Any colonized land will forever be a crime scene, a compromised space. Well, if that doesn't tell you what this play's about, and what's great about the it doesn't have a nice, tidy ending. Without giving it away, it does not have a happy ending, which is quite lovely. You know, what do you?
I don't like plays that end in a bow
because it wouldn't be nearly as impactful.
It's not challenging,
right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. What? Given that this is a staged reading for our viewers at home who have no idea how a staged reading contract works, you get 26 hours to rehearse, not including the 2 performance days that will be live streamed. Please make your reservations at our website for the 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. shows. It's doing a lot of work in a very short amount of time, and yes, sometimes that process, to me, becomes almost hyper-focused in a really good way. You find lots of discoveries very, very quickly. Of course, it would be great to have 3 to 6 weeks to rehearse, because then you can find all sorts of beautiful things. But yes. So this question is twofold for you. What are the challenges of, 1, directing a stage reading when you have 26 hours? 2, what are the challenges of directing that stage reading in 26 hours on Zoom?
Can I answer the second question first?
Yes, absolutely. In whatever order you wish. Yes.
Once it was decided that we were streaming this, I'm like, all year I've been, when I've been asked to direct something, because I last directed Sojourner Truth for Prime Stage. Mm-hmm. During the really major part of the pandemic. And I remember telling the artistic director, I'm not doing this via Zoom. I said, if her and I cannot be in a room, I'm not doing it. Right. Because you can't. You can't. So he goes, oh, yeah, you're right. So it was her and I. And then we had a studio. We had a company actually film it live. Mm-hmm. Once, and I was good with that. Mm-hmm. Then I was told when I got to hear that we were going to, it was going to be not live, or it was going to be live, but not in person.
In this platform.
It was going to be, and I'm like, okay, never done it, but I understand the circumstances. Right. And I was asked would I still be on board? And I said, yeah, certainly, because of the cast that I had.
Good group of people.
And that had a lot to do with me agreeing. If they agreed to stay on board, I was going to do this, because I had veteran actors. And when I say the term veteran actors, for those of you who are not familiar with that term, it's actors that have done hours and hours and hours of training, and they have degrees, et cetera, and they have done major works with the various theater companies and various major works. Mm-hmm. So they come with a lot of background and experience to the table.
Right.
In that short amount of time, putting something like this together, a new work, something a very important play, You have to have the more experienced actors, and they agreed. I agreed, so it was all good.
Yeah.
So this is the first time that I'm actually doing something via Zoom, and it's been smooth sailing.
Yeah.
I've been able to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
I have to not point to people because I'm on camera. I'm not in person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those kind of things. But other than that, the actors are very on point.
Yeah.
It
I gotta say, sitting in even the first read, which by the way was
amazing.
it wouldn't have mattered if we were in the room. It
Exactly.
honestly, because a first read is a first read. It has this glorious magic to it. But so the fact that we chose because of the number of cases, and we want to keep not only our actors but obviously our patrons as well safe, is that to me it doesn't make a difference, because it's good actors and it's a ridiculously good story, and it's more important to get the story regardless of what platform it's on.
That is correct.
Doing it on this simply means, okay, so you're going to watch it in a different format. You'll be in your living room. That's it, right? That's literally the only difference.
And there are no challenges really to this. And instead of, I'm looking this way to pretend that I'm looking at you. Right. Nope, you're looking straight ahead. There's no problems. There's no any of that. The language is the thing that's most important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can do the language where it pops off the page, the audience can see it. They can see everything that's happening. Mm-hmm. Whether you're, looking at that person or not, it's all about the language and how it's delivered. And so I proceeded to direct in that manner.
So I have a question that made me think of there are, again, listen, because I'm not it's all about listening, right? And so since this particular play is based in Zimbabwe, you and I easily made the choice that the actors would be using a Zimbabwean dialect, which is also why Mukwae. I think and tell me if I'm wrong, because you were saying, right, that the language, what the actors are saying in the story permeates the screen just fine. There is I'm trying to remember, what did I say after the first read? There was a musicality that I had not heard in my own head when I was reading it, because I had not fully. There's a lot of dialects in the world, right?
You can't hear it.
Yeah.
You can't hear it until it's actually off the page. Yeah. That's one of the other challenges I have when I get new works. I'll get it and I'll look at it and say, yeah, I get it. I understand it. But it's always with me. I don't know how any other directors feel, but it's always with me when the word is spoken. Oh my God, everything comes flooding into my head. This is how I'll do this. This is how this is going to work. This is how I'm going to lift the language here and blah, blah, blah. And it gets me very excited. Yeah. It's great when you're reading it, but it's not until I hear it aloud that my juices start to flow.
Well, and I think, and for me too, because it's a very particular dialect,
That's correct.
My ear is more attuned to an East African dialect. So I was not as familiar with a West African dialect. And so the absolute zeal that all of these actors brought to
absolutely
doing their homework.
They did their homework.
Right. And working very hard. What I appreciated and loved about having Mukwae as a dialect coach was she was so specific about not only placement,
yes,
in the mouth, right, but with that comes a certain tonal quality.
Yes.
Which, right, so And because it is, again, in that different dialect, there is not only the musicality, but I think this goes with what you were saying about the language popping off the page, is that, and when you hear it, you can't, our American ears, right, have to adjust I mean, right, we're talking about, geez, if we hear people from Tennessee, it has to adjust, right? Or people from New York.
Absolutely.
But the speed with which you have to change the way you speak when you are speaking in a completely different dialect.
Yes.
It changes the consonants, it changes the vowels, it changes the rhythm of the sentence. It's like listening to Mozart, right? It's like sorry, I could talk about dialects all day. What besides the history that Mukwae presented, what other, like, top 3 things maybe that you have found the most beneficial of the presentation that she gave you before you even started rehearsal?
The history, the characterization of the description of the people on both sides, and the beautiful country, the beauty of the people on both sides. That appealed to me.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm happy that this doesn't end up tied all in a bow. Right. I love giving audiences the chance, and I always say this as a director: do not dismiss the intelligence of your audience. Don't think that they're not out there thinking. And I direct according to what an audience, I put myself in that audience and go, what do I want to hear? What do I want to listen to? What do I want to understand? What do I want to make a decision about? And those things that Mukwae told us about is what I want to bring out in this play. They don't have to have heard her dramaturgical session to get it. They will get it from the way the actors are presenting it.
Do you have I had a question because I found it fascinating, and again, this is why it's such a good cast, because with relish, they took their homework assignment and seriously,
they went for it.
Why? Because you said you do it with all of your shows. Why do you have the actors write a backstory for the actors?
Yes, I always do that as a director, because it not only gets the actor to focus on their particular character, it also gets them to focus on the world of the play. And to explain to our audience out there, I always have my actors do bios of the characters that they're portraying, and the bios must contain what the playwright has not given them, what is already known. They need to bring the backstory to meet what the playwright has already given. And this enables the actor to really think quickly, and in this sense, get quicker into that character rather than wait for a series of, oh, now I got it in the 5th week of performance. Oh yeah, now I got it. No, they need to work on it before they come to the table at the first rehearsal.
Yeah.
And my actors always, in every play I've directed, they always bring it. They always bring it, and they meet, and and they read it out loud. And they present the world that character is coming from, how it relates to all the other characters in that play.
Yeah, they were
to the point where you could write another addition to the play.
Yeah, they were stunning.
Stunning.
I have just whoo.
Yes.
So I have, because this is, you know, we asked this of all of the directors.
Mm-hmm.
This is specifically right in Zimbabwe. Not going to give too much away, but it is a white family.
Yes.
Dealing with a black character, and I know that it parallels in some ways, right? Repatriations. What, again, semi-loaded question, so you can take a second to think about it because I think that's valid. What conversations do you hope get started from the people who watch this play? Not what do you think they'll get, because I don't.
I'm thinking about something very simple that I always say. Yeah. The one with the most toys does not always win. You don't get to carry this with you once you're past. Mm-hmm. So there's power struggle here. Mm-hmm. There's no side that's right.
Right, because everybody has there are valid arguments.
Everybody has a valid argument. So mm-hmm. I hope an audience takes away with, we need to have continue conversations, mm-hmm. not start, because the continue, if I have to start a conversation.
But for some people, this will be a started conversation because it occurred to them.
And that's fine.
Right.
But I want to continue those conversations. I want people to have a thought about where they are, where they stand, mm-hmm. In our situation right now.
Do you think this play will confuse more people?
No, I doubt it. I doubt it, because the actors are brilliant and bringing out.
I think it's because since it's not tied up with a pretty little bow.
Oh no, I find that when I do plays that aren't tidy with the little bow, mm-hmm. audiences love it. They love being able to take that control, and me giving them the respect to make their own decision of the outcomes and where it needs to go. Because I do not think it's going to confuse anybody.
It's the last play, the last two we did, Cottagers and Indians.
Yes.
Had to do with land sovereignty and food sovereignty, right? So it was it's happening now. It happened 10 mm-hmm. years ago. Happened a few hundred years ago, right? It's again, it's an ongoing thing. Who has the right to, or not, to plant wild rice in a lake that's been there and part of First Nations or Indigenous, or pick a country, right? But do also the people who buy cottages on that very lake, do they not have a right to the shoreline that they bought? Does that make sense? Or not the shoreline, the view, right? Mm-hmm. So it's bringing up the same. It's bringing up the same argument, because people were like, oh, there are two sides to this one, because you expect, right, the white people or the white characters to be the bad guys, and that's not. It's not.
And I'll give a for instance. Mm-hmm. When I played Addie in The Little Foxes, to make it a long story short, Addie's character, or Addie, as I portrayed her, needed to get the daughter out of the environment she was in. I mean, mm-hmm. this was the family who was very greedy. Mm-hmm. And there is no tie up and a bow at the end of Little Foxes. Mm-hmm. We have they had a reception after that party, and people were coming up to me and asking me the question, did you get her out? were you able? I love it. I love it. That shows you they were on the edge of their seat.
They
It
were invested.
didn't tie up in a bow. It
Mhm.
didn't end with a period.
Right.
And that was it. And you move on to the next shiny object.
Right.
And I loved it. This is the kind of thing where you give your audience that pencil and you say, write your own conclusion or carry this conclusion forward.
Right. Or what questions do you have?
Or what questions do you have?
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they talk about it. It's like coming from a musical and humming the best
Right.
tune.
Right.
You
right.
know?
Right.
On the other hand, this is what straight plays do, or the good ones.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think they'll be confused.
What do you? I guess I'm sorry. One more time, because I was thinking confused, as in now they're in a good way, but confused with, oh, it's not so
black and white.
Yeah,
no more than I think, no more than they are already. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No more than they are already. It's just pushes this more forward for people to actually take the time to think before you open your mouth.
Right. Right.
That's all that's required.
Where do you think, or where do you hope this movement, let's call it, right? Because for the first time in history on Broadway, all the new plays are Black playwrights. Where do you hope that this program, the Expand the Canon program here at home, where do you hope that other theaters around the country and around the world, what direction do you hope?
I hope that it doesn't favor one side or the other. Even though right now we're the big thing. We're the next shiny object right now.
Right.
I hope it doesn't stay on one side or the other. I hope it continues to get diverse. It's wrong to do it either side completely.
Right.
I think everybody should have a chance at the pie.
Right.
That's what I hope.
Yeah.
It's all great that everybody's like jumping on the bandwagon. Oh yeah, we'll got to be diverse. So it's all Black this year.
Right.
That's not good either. Because you're leaving out other people that have something to bring to the table also.
Right.
And make sure that when you're vetting these people to do something, you're not doing it just because of their skin color.
Right.
Make sure they have something to bring to the table besides that.
Right.
Besides, I'm a female, I'm of color, I'm this, I'm their ethnicity.
Right.
Make sure they got the creds to actually produce. That's important to me. I'd rather not be called upon to do something if I don't have the accreditations to back it up.
Right. Right.
Don't use me as a token.
Right.
Words.
Right.
I got the creds.
Yeah. My brain just stopped functioning. Could you hear it come to a screeching halt there?
I did. I saw the smoke. It went,
again, it's Monday again. It's Friday, but it's Monday. Is there like, do you have a wish list? Many things you've been
what I just said.
Yeah.
What I just said is my wish list.
Yeah.
I wish for everybody to have a chance to do what they do, despite their ethnicity.
Right.
If you got the creds to do something, allow me a chance.
Right.
Don't look at me through my ethnicity or sex or what have you. Look at my credentials and go, yes.
Look at me.
Look at me.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I just said is my wish list.
Yeah. Yeah. The I was thinking the other I think I left this. I might have left it out, but I'm going to reiterate one of the glorious things about yes, I'm in charge, but the of as curating this program, but I am in collaboration, right, with the artistic team and then the directors that I snag who are coming along on the ride with me is yes, it's the opportunity to bring new seats to the table, right? Expand the table of stories and perspectives that we get to see, right? Work with new directors, even right. But you've worked as an actor at PICT, but now you're in a different capacity, right?
Right.
And how many different actors can we get in front of this particular audience and then expand? So it's not just expanding the stories; it's expanding the number of people we can put to work, even if it's for a week. People, it's 26 hours worth of work. Right?
I think this is wonderful,
you know,
because of so many people that don't get to work very often can come to this,
Right.
and show strut their stuff.
Yeah.
And lots of other people will get to see them. People who
that
frequent
is exactly right. Right. And I'm like,
theater, they'll get to see them.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
my angelfish, it is time for me to start talking about the ending credits. So thank you very much to my dear director, Linda Haston, who has to get to rehearsal right now. So
Yes.
Thank you very much. Stay safe. I might join you in a little bit.
Okay.
Today. All right, everybody, the end credits. Here I go. Please reserve your tickets on the PICT website for a live stream at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. on YouTube. Yes, you do have to make a reservation, even though it's online, because we only have a certain number of tickets available for those live streams. So please join us. The next 4 weeks of webinars will be devoted to Greek theater and performance. So you will have the pleasure of hanging out with Alan for the next 4 weeks. And last but not least, our gala, our 25th anniversary season gala, will be Saturday, March 19th at 10 p.m. at the Carnegie Science Center in the Point View Hall. It's a gorgeous view. There's a reason it's called Point View Hall. You can visit the website for more details, but I will tell you that the VIP tickets are $150. The general admission, which means the party tickets, are $100. Please join us for an evening of food and drinks and revelry and surprises and all sorts of marvelous things to help us celebrate our 25th anniversary season. Again, that will be Saturday, March 19th, 2022. More details will be available as of February 1st. Thank you very much to Linda Haston, our director. Thank you very much to Catherine Kolos, the general operations manager and producer of today's webinar. Thank you very much to all of you for joining. Can't do it without you. Please have a lovely weekend. Make your reservations at our website. Stay safe, stay warm. I'll see you soon. Thank you.